do we demonstrate value? You want to start with
Yeah.
your perspective?
Yeah. If there was an easy answer to this, it would be fantastic, wouldn't it? I guess that's what I'm going to start with. And it's probably similar to the conversation we had previously about frameworks. Context matters here. And in my recent experience, I've been working a lot with product people, so product managers, product owners. We've been doing a lot of things like training, road mapping, trying to figure out how to help our customers understand the value that we're bringing with our product roadmaps. And the first thing I'll say about this is it's hard. It's really, really hard to help people really understand and to buy into and support the value that your product is delivering, because you have many customers and your customers have different needs and different wants, and you're inevitably working on a complex product that maybe your customer doesn't quite understand, and there's a balance of needs with your product. So you can't just constantly keep your car on the track winning races. You have to have maintenance for your car. You have to maybe do some platform work every now and again, maybe some significant platforming work every now and again. Helping your customers understand that is very challenging too. And I think all of these principles apply to professionals in the kinds of roles that we have: Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, people who coordinate, how teams perform better, people who coordinate solving problems in teams. The same principles apply. Sometimes we're helping things work better. Sometimes we're working on the core. We're getting the platform working as it should. So I suppose I'm setting the scene there rather than answering the question. I'm trying to get back on point here, right? I would answer the question from, if I'm starting in a new organization, how would I understand what we need to do and how we demonstrate that we're doing it? And that might sound abstract, because you could be talking to 25, 30 people to get 25, 30 different answers to that question. And it's like in system coaching, you call it entering the system, right? You've got to understand, okay, who am I working for? Because obviously that's very important for me personally and for my safety in the organization, right? I've got to understand that. But there's a wider system. There's a lot of other people involved in the conversation who have a stake and who have an interest and who are important and will influence the context of the team or the teams that you're working with too. So to me, it's about, okay, entering the system or understanding when the system changes, what's different now. That would be how I would start the process of understanding how to deliver value. How does that land as a starting point?
Very good, and even better, because I was thinking of a different perspective. I think my perspective is very down to earth, or very, yeah, it's different. Because when I first read, when I first thought about how do we demonstrate value, I immediately thought someone should give us feedback, probably. So it's maybe it's through talking to people, maybe it's through some feedback form that I would be sending and asking people, do you think I'm bringing something valuable to the table? So feedback would be one way of thinking. Another one is closely related, actually, which is through some metrics. And I know that it's sometimes, super difficult to prove. I don't know, cycle time. Cycle time is decreasing. Yes, that's my work. No, then no, it's not. So I would be thinking of some KPIs or some metrics that that could present what's the impact of what I'm doing. I'm thinking specifically of something that happened recently when I was working with one team that was they did in the past some psychological safety workshop, and they had some scoring system related to that, which was, it was just questions, how do you feel about, and then you put it on a scale from 1 to 100. But the very nice thing was to do the same questions again with them and to see the change in the score, which obviously I'm not the one to take all the credit for, but it's great to actually demonstrate the thing that changed since I'm here. And it doesn't need to, I don't need to point fingers to like I did it, but it's more like this is how the system is changing when I'm here. And it's how people interact, but at least there's a numeric value assigned to this, and I see some people are really interested in the numeric value rather than in the stories behind it. It's a good way of also, I guess, selling my the things I do. And the third very practical thing is somewhere around practicing, in a sense. It's sometimes great to simply answer the request. Very often it's a request about, can you help us with facilitation of XYZ? We are having, two different departments that need to create something together, and we have a lot of conversations. How do we do that? How do we set this up? And so on and so on. Yeah, great. I can help you with that. Maybe let's run a workshop together and let's figure out. And this is a very nice way to be out there and uh, bring value to specific people, assuming obviously the workshop goes well. That, you are there, you are helping them, as I say, do their best thinking, you move things forward, you help them create actions, it's very tangible thing that is very useful to have it like more visible. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think I agree with you on the idea of metrics. I would probably add something more qualitative to that as well. That it's nice to have a kind of a goal in mind, an improvement goal, or perhaps a corrective kind of, some kind of direction of travel. So when I think about working with a team or a group of teams, you might be thinking about, well, how are the team working or performing? You might be thinking about, well, how is the customer, like how is that relationship? Are they getting what they want? Are they getting it on time? Is the quality good? Is it all, working fine? And you might be thinking about management as well, and internally, what's the perception, and what do we need to do anything there? And you may end up having, different perspectives on any of those. Like if you have imagine three circles in a Venn diagram, you might have different perspectives, different influence in any of those. But what we've got to bring ourselves is professional judgment again, and the things that people might be looking for from each of those sets, like the team, the customer, the internal stakeholders, the managers. They might not be aware of things that we can bring. So things like you're talking about, like the team perception spider diagram, like, it might be helpful to management to understand that the team thinks they're doing great, right? And in the context of a manager's expectations, that might be in agreement with what the manager thinks. Oh, that's great that the team thinks they're doing great, because I also think that they are doing great. We know from experience, you may encounter a manager who says, "What? How can they think? How can they think that? Because I have a completely different perception." So, as I guess I'm trying to with the three circles, think about a very simple system of there's influences, and it's our role, I think, to help interpret, help bring the worlds together, help everyone understand, like, oh, when I showed this data to the management team, they came back with this feedback. How does that land with you, team? What? How can they think we're not going well? Because look at this, look at that. So, well, they did ask us to look at something else. And the team might say, oh, yeah, okay, well, fair enough. Internally we think we're great, but the customer did complain about it last week,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I may have gone wildly off topic. Can you bring me back on point, Pavel?
Oh my, that's too bad, because I was thinking to pull that topic even more, just because when you said the free Venn diagram, I was recently looking at Troy McGuinness. He wrote a small piece about 6 different perspectives of looking at teams, basically, if I remember correctly, which was like something about quality, something about quantity of stuff we deliver, something about how quick we do that, something about, and there are 6 different perspectives, and I would argue there should be even 2 more, like how cost efficient we are, is it security wise, is it all good? He's using the metaphor of different forces pulling in different directions. I think I would use a different metaphor. I don't like the they are competing forces. I would rather say something like balancing. So it's different things that you need to balance, because, for example, what you said, maybe team did great on something, but right now the balance is more on some other angle, and you need to now change the way you balance to fulfill some request, and maybe then when the request will be fulfilled, the balance will shift again. So it's like it's constant balancing, and it's, yeah, very broad topic. How do we demonstrate value? You've asked if I can bring us back. Yeah, I think there's a lot with feedback, with if you can see it in some metrics, even asking questions, even try to put your feelings on a scale. Gathering stories, that's great. There's a lot of it in the works of David Snowden, for example. Like, how do you gather stories? How do you put them on different axes? And then there's the part of being visible, where I think facilitation is a great way to be out there and to demonstrate the value.
I think I might just add one point to that as well, which is, if you're inquiring about this question, if you're asking, how do we demonstrate value? How does the team I'm working with, how does the product I'm working with demonstrate value? If you're working on answering that question in an organization, you're going to be building relationships, you're going to be forging alliances, you're going to be hopefully interacting with the people who can help you answer that question. And that's already a step in the right direction. The metrics you choose, the numbers you choose, ultimately it's down to those interactions. They'll help you choose those KPIs and figure out, where are we out of balance? What do we need to do to correct the course, or change the equilibrium?
Yeah, that's I guess that's the main point, in a sense. If metrics improve a lot, but people still have the perception that you're not helping that much, then the metrics doesn't matter after all. Like, the perception is the reality. So working on that perception is super important, and you work by interacting with people, like you said, alliances, and yeah, all the conversations that we have.
Yeah, 100% agree. Because, at the end of the day, a lot of people certainly senior people in organizations, like they value relationships, and they value relationships that are to some extent transactional, right? If I talk to this person, something is going to happen. There's a purpose or a point to the conversation I'm having. So if you are not someone they even know or recognize, then they'll talk to somebody else.
Yeah. I think this is the being out there in my head, being with teams, being with stakeholders. It's the number one thing. Did we answer the question? So this one wasn't, it depends after all.
Yeah, but I think we might have had one or two actually steps to take to answer that question. It's scarily concrete, perhaps.